Well, I mean, usually when people come in here, they start here and work their way around. But, it's important to point out that this is a small percentage of his actual archive, which is upwards of, close to 2 million photos. And of course, it might be 50 in here. So this is just a little sprinkle. But he was Martin Luther King. The last 12 years of his life, he was his personal photographer. So you have a lot of intimate photos. And I guess to give you some context of, in the Black community, not from a religious aspect, but kind of what he represents, Martin Luther King was kind of our savior in comparison to a Jesus. So if you think in the historical context of, if Jesus's personal photographer had a picture of Jesus just kicking back, laying on a bed, that's what this is to us. So it's more intimate photos of Martin Luther King and see him as, the human that he was. The thing about my grandfather is he'll make every grandkid feel like he's their favorite grandkid or she's their favorite grandkid. And the same with my grandmother. Like, I was in LA, so I would come out maybe once a year for Thanksgiving or sometimes during the summer. And, as soon as I came, I did everything he did for that day. So I went to a couple weddings that he was shooting photos for, taking me to ice cream and, everything. He came to my graduations. He would always fly out to my graduations when I did graduate. And the kids, this high school, these were going to be the first African-American kids at this high school. So you see everybody waiting to give them a hard time, and you see them preparing themselves for the hard time that they're about to walk into. It's historical, The thing about my grandfather, he was he was a historical civil rights activist, photographer, got it all on film, but at the same time, he was a cameraman, so he did weddings, he did funerals, he did picture day, he did, bar mitzvahs, whatever you wanted, he would show up with his camera. So he got he was at the Emmett Till funeral, Dr. King, of course. This is Medgar Evers. I'm from LA, so I want to bring a lot of the aesthetics of Los Angeles, but I always make it clear that I'm not trying to bring LA's culture, because this is where the culture is. You can't dilute this with any outside influences, because this is this is the salt of everything. And Memphis has always kept me grounded and in tune, and knowing about my history and knowing about the important things. I grew up in the 80s, 90s in Los Angeles, South Central, during the gangbang epidemic. So sitting on your front porch was risky because somebody might come by shooting. And I would come out here and sit on my front porch, and everybody that would pass would like honk and wave. And I thought they might have mistaken me for my cousin or thought I was somebody they knew or whatever the case, but no, that's just genuinely how they are. Miss Rosa Parks is kind of scares everybody when they first walk in. It's so lifelike. I don't know who the artist is. I wish I can give them a shout out, but this is very lifelike. But that's what the bus boycott was based on, Miss Rosa Parks not wanting to give up her seat. And so Martin Luther King took it to where it needed to be on the national stage. My grandfather was there to document it all. These moments are what's so important, because, God willing, we're never going to go back to this time period again of, no white people allowed in the zoo today. It was segregated. They had the black days, they had the white days. So, and even if it does go to that point, there's a camera on every phone. So it'll never be as exclusive as it is in these moments. I am a man, that's kind of his trademark. It's what a lot of people associate him with. It's a march with the I Am a Man poster, but it was just so, the aesthetics of it is very eye-catching. So In a historical context, you know, that was only a couple hundred years ago in the big scheme of things. So how far, so the strides that we have made are amazing, but to think that some of the things don't resonate, you know, to this day isn't, you know, you're not being realistic. A lot of the, during slavery, and there's a lot made about the beatings and the rapings and the inhumane treatment and all that stuff, but the greatest or the biggest thing that happened, or what comes from that, is inferiority complex that resonates amongst black people. I'm sorry to say. You know, a lot of people still have a slave mentality, like we're not equal. And, you know, for those, and that's not everybody, but, you know, it's just, it's passed down. Like I said, it's only been 200 years, so that's a great-great-grandfather. So that's easily passed down from generation to generation. And people speak a lot of maybe generational curses in the spiritual realm, but a lot of it is really just bad habits passed down from generation, and low self-esteem passed down from generation to generation. And that's probably been the biggest effect of slavery, I would say, is inferiority complex amongst black people. Like, at some point, and a lot of us are, but, you know, a lot of us aren't woken up to the fact that we're just as good as the next man. You know, we're all equal, we're all just as talented, we're all just as smart. The elephant in the room is, and something that I just saw, the net worth of a single black woman in America. Let me tell you, the net worth of a single white woman in America is $42,600. Okay, you took that in? Now the net worth for a single black woman in America is $5. Not $500, not $55. So you can see what that disparity implies. You know, there's it's discrimination at its finest. You can't possibly think that white women are $42,000 more capable than black women. No, it's the systematic things that have been, you know, instituted by those who, you know, by the powers that be. And it's also, like I said, the inferiority complex that we have. So we have a lot working against us to dig out the hole, and then when some of us get out the hole, we're so relieved to be at the hole that we fear that going back to the hole and getting our people might somehow pull us back into the hole. So, you know, it's something that's slowly but surely improving, but we're not there yet. Negro Baseball League. Let me see. Withers, boy, that's my father right there. So of course that means something to me, all my uncles. Black people are known for our athletic ability, so being that they separated us or kept us out of the Major League Baseball, you kind of took away their credibility because they clearly didn't have the best athletes on the planet playing for them at the time. Now they do. Thanks to Jackie Robinson. I'm sure we got a photo of him somewhere around here. There we go. Jackie Robinson. The mindset is so messed up that this isn't a problem that you can throw money at. People's mindsets have to change, you know, how they look at life, everybody's perspective needs to change to ready us for that. But, you know, it'll take the leaders, and it won't be, this isn't a situation like it was back in the day with Marthin Luther King and Malcolm X, where you had these, that's not necessarily going to work today. We don't need one or two leaders. This has to be a collaborative effort. Everybody has to get on the same page, you know, amongst every community across the United States, and teach, you know, economic literacy at a young age, and the value of investment and, stop glorifying the bells and whistles and concentrate on generational wealth. B.B. King, this is a Memphis legend. In his heyday, Stax record, I would compare it to Motown in Detroit. Stax was kind of Memphis's Motown. All the big artists were signed to them. So we got all those pictures. Tina Turner, Aretha Franklin, B.B. King, like I mentioned. Got Ray Charles performing. Bobby Blue Bland. Anybody who's into blues knows that guy very well, or knows that band very well. James Brown, Isaac Hayes, he a very close family friend. This is the hotel after the assassination. Everybody just, it's like, became a memorial. People came to show their respects. The funeral, of course. I'm telling you, this look, not to put Nipsey up there with Martin Luther King, but that's how it looked. Well, that was his, the slogan of the campaign, like, change is here. It looked to be a new day. It looked to be a new way of doing things and seeing things. We knew that, yes, it was huge, especially for the picture I showed you where she was so happy about getting her voter registration card. So those who are still alive from that era, who never thought they would be alive to see a black president, it was everything for them. I myself knew it was coming, but I didn't think it was going to come that early. So it was huge for me as well. We knew that we were kind of, and that's the thing, we're kind of just happy. If we knew this, how it was going to turn out, we would have, I'm sure he would have done more, but we were kind of happy to get our foot in the door, and we didn't want to ruffle any feathers, so he couldn't do any type of drastic changes that he might have had on his heart, but wouldn't have played well, in the political realm or the politically correct realm. But, it was huge, and not only what has happened since then, what he inherited was a big mess, It wasn't like he just came in and everything was, we were already recovering from, recessions and wars and 9/11, and, it was already a turbulent atmosphere when he stepped into the fray. So to expect him to, do a magic trick in the 8 years that he had, that too isn't realistic. But at the same time, he could have probably done more if he didn't feel the pressures of, I'm the first black man, I don't want to make sure other black presidents have a chance, so I can't do anything too radical. And you see what's going on now. Jesse Jackson. Casket, of course. Mr. King lying in it. This photo here is blurry, but you can tell just how in the moment it was. My grandfather used to like to say, I got spit on for a lot of these photos, He took a lot of beatings for a lot of these photos. He spent a lot of nights in jail for these photos, so it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in all of them. I look at things from a different perspective. This is kind of like a necessary evil, destroying to rebuild. The balance of the world, it'll make us appreciate the peaceful times that are sure to come, but we have to get through this. So I don't look at it as I don't want to misquote the Bible, but it says we're doing tribulation, be happy, because you know that it's leading to something greater. And that's kind of the way I'm taking it. That's what's helping me sleep at night. But yeah, what's going on is crazy. You know, that's not how a president should talk and walk and social. He's on Twitter acting like a teenage child, and it is what you think it is. It is just as, I mean, it's just as shocking to us, and we hope that we can, going forward, bring back some class to that office. But you know, that's going to be another thing that we have to repair amongst all the other things that are going on. We gotta, just how we look, that's just a bad look for America. Like, this man has no filter. He has no, his decorum, like the way he, that's just not presidential. Nothing about him is presidential. Everything about him is business shark. Get some lights going. But just more photos. This is the music area. David Porter, he's a friend of the family. But you know, these are all the people we know now in their humble beginnings. Ray Charles. B.B. King and Ray Charles. I like this photo here. Of course, I never heard a song by them, but the photo just looks, the little kid, little Anthony. Elvis, can't mention Memphis without mentioning Elvis. Aretha Franklin, a lot of people consider her the best vocalist of all time. That's his funeral. It's my dad, and goes my sister. Well, nah, even before Obama, just the climate of America, it was, you know, everybody was more sensitive to racism. We were not as far removed from all that you see here, so people had some type of political correctness. So it wasn't, he's making it in style to, you know, the people who've always had it in their heart and who had to be quiet about it because they would have looked crazy. Hey, if the president's saying it, then I can say it too. So he's giving them a platform, and that's the last thing they needed. But you got to expose the virus, you know, you got to, there's a lot of things that we didn't know because a lot of us were under the mindset that stuff had calmed down, and maybe America wasn't as racist as it was or that we thought it was, but this just put a spotlight on it and let us know that it's still alive and well. And you know, this is a historical period that we're living in now. The only difference, and the reason why my grandfather's work is so important was, back in this day, it was one guy with a camera to catch the beatings and the people getting sprayed with the fire hose and all that stuff. Now, everybody has a camera, so in every corner of America, you can be put on, blast for what you're doing. So if you look at it that way, it's, you know, these things have to be brought to the surface. Goes little Anthony again. You always look so animated. It's my Uncle Teddy. He did a lot for Memphis. He kind of passed away right when he was getting started, but he did lay down a lot of the foundation that we still are building upon today. He was he kind of, Marcus Garvey and a lot of things he stood for, which was kind of black people going back to Africa. And, you know, he just wanted to do he wanted to strengthen the relationship between African Americans and Africans. And African culture resonated a lot with him because, you know, especially during that time period, it was hard to consider American culture our culture. Well, just like the kids who are racist, the kids who aren't racist, it all starts in the home. You know, they got that stuff from their parents and their uncles and whoever they're around, whoever their social environment is, that's who they got it from. So as parents, you can either, you know, represent it right and keep them around the right people and the right influences and expose them to the right things. And, you know, they're a lot of these people are a product of their environment. So the racist people they weren't born that way. You know, we all seen films of little babies of all colors playing with each other. So any type of discrimination was ingrained in them, you know. So our job is to ingrain the opposite, which should come natural to us. Grandfather and my grandmother, this is the queen of everything. Miss Dorothy Withers, we all call her my dear. But she was the brains of the operation. The optimism comes from maybe my faith in God, that there's got to be a deeper meaning behind this, and I'll just wait and see how it plays out and do my part and make sure that my family does our part. But it was clear that, you know, maybe we were oblivious the time before, and we needed this radical shake up to see what was really still left. And now we can really attack these areas, whether it's police brutality, whether it's the Ku Klux Klan, who we thought their numbers were dwindling away, but we see they're still, you know, alive and I don't want to use the word strong, but they're still alive. So that's what's happening. That's how I can be optimistic, because I'd rather live in the light than live in the dark and not know what's going on, you know. So this is bringing a lot of things to the surface. I keep repeating that, but that's the only way we can see it. How are we going to attack it if we don't know where it is? We don't know where they live. We don't know it's going on. So this is the only way to bring real change. Like I said, with the reparations, this isn't something you can throw money at. A lot of these problems you can't throw things at. They have to be, you know, just how we were systematically discriminated against, we have to systematically do the opposite. And that's gonna, you know, it's a process, but you can't work on what you don't know. So this is all giving us knowledge of just how far back we are that we didn't know.